In the intricate political theater of 1980s Nigeria, two names stood at the center of military power: Muhammadu Buhari and Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Their story is one of alliance, ambition, and an inevitable collision that would change the nation's destiny. It all began on the last day of 1983. A military coup, orchestrated by a cabal of senior officers including Babangida, brought an end to the democratically elected government of President Shehu Shagari. The nation, weary of economic mismanagement and corruption, looked to the military for salvation. However, a critical decision was made behind closed doors. Despite Babangida's key role and ambition, the Supreme Military Council chose the stern and austere Major General Muhammadu Buhari to be the head of state. Babangida was appointed Chief of Army Staff. For Babangida, this was a slight. He saw himself as the more strategic and popular choice, and believed Buhari's rigid approach was ill-suited for Nigeria's complex political landscape. As Buhari's regime rolled out its war against indiscipline, enforcing strict social order and harsh economic austerity measures, public discontent began to simmer. The initial optimism faded, replaced by frustration over economic hardship and what many perceived as repressive decrees. From his position as army chief, Babangida watched and waited. He saw Buhari's inflexibility, his refusal to consider IMF loans, and his administration's growing unpopularity as an opportunity. He began to carefully and covertly consolidate his support within the military's middle and senior ranks. He was the charismatic insider, the man who understood the grievances of his fellow officers, positioning himself as the pragmatic alternative to Buhari's unyielding rule. The plotting was subtle, a masterclass in political maneuvering within a military structure. The moment came on the morning of August 27, 1985. While Buhari was at his residence in Dodan Barracks, soldiers under the command of officers loyal to Babangida moved swiftly. They took control of key installations, including the radio station in Lagos. In a broadcast to the nation, the plotters announced that the government of Muhammadu Buhari had been overthrown. It was a palace coup, executed with precision and without a single drop of blood being shed. Babangida, the patient plotter, had finally achieved his goal. He declared himself military president of Nigeria. Upon taking power, Babangida immediately repealed some of Buhari's most unpopular decrees and released journalists who had been imprisoned. He projected an image of a more humane and listening leader. His administration initiated significant reforms, including the Structural Adjustment Program, SAP, aimed at revitalizing the economy. He oversaw the creation of new states and embarked on monumental infrastructure projects, most notably the completion of the third mainland bridge in Lagos and the historic relocation of the nation's capital to Abuja. However, his legacy remains one of the most debated in Nigeria's history, a complex tapestry of political skill, economic reform, and controversies that would define the years to come.